Continue off from my halfway point at my first villains list video. I continue now, going up the list with number 6. And that is Sabretooth, aka Victor Creed from the X-Men series. While Sabretooth lacks the physical, godlike omnipotence that the bigger villains such as Mr. Sinister, Apocalypse, and Magneto possess, Sabretooth, I think, carries enough hatred and passion for his dislike of the X-Men, more so than any other villain combined. The great thing about Sabretooth is the fact that he is pure, savage fury. Especially if you look at him with the awesome performance brought to you by Liev Schreiber in the X-Men Origins film, who played a young Sabretooth, and truly gave audiences who had not seen Sabretooth in the animated cartoon or the comic book a true understanding of just how vicious and psychotic he can be. Sabretooth is in fact hatred incarnate. His hatred and utter loathing of Wolverine is famous for the character, and his terrifying appearance only adds to the animal fury that he carries so passionately in his dark heart. Sabretooth may seem very simple in the sense that he's just a clawed, savage, fanged creature, but the fact that he can carry such a grudge for so many years, and is perfectly willing with killing and taking out anyone that Wolverine likes, cares about, or gets in his way, proves to me just how ruthless he can truly be. Sabretooth is one of the more vicious villains of X-Men, and while he lacks the physical power, as I said, his hatred truly knows no boundaries. He's a pure, evil, and hate-filled person who I think is one of the better X-Men villains, regardless of his physical standing. And I thought his performance in the 90s cartoon, not that shitty-ass Evolution one, gave a truly accurate mix of physical ferocity and cunning intelligence that made Sabretooth the recognizable and deadly threat that he is. Moving up the list on to number 5, we go to Scar from Walt Disney's The Lion King. This slick, slash-eyed, slick-talking lion has been rated by many people as one of the best Disney villains ever. He has enormous amounts of popularity, and so many people enjoy him, myself included, particularly also because of the awesome job that Jeremy Irons did as voicing him. Disney has a history of some of the best voice actors play off the villains for their Disney films, as well as making good villains, and Scar is definitely one of the best. As Nostalgia Critic mentioned in one of his villains lists, Scar actually didn't do much and wasn't actually capable of much outside of a whiny guy who just wanted his power to the throne that his brother held and was more smart than actual strong. And when he actually got his power, he pretty much cocked everything up for all the lions in Pride Rock. However, the reason I rate Scar so high is, of all the other Disney villains, very few of them acted as quickly and aggressively on their hatred for their enemies. He wasted no time in killing his brother when he found out that his son, or his nephew I should say, was taking the throne from out under his feet, and had no qualms or regrets about sending the hyenas to kill his son. Scar is completely cold-blooded and calculating, and he knows how to twist people to do what he wants. And the fact that he's so greedy and selfish, to me, just says right there that he's clearly a classic grade A villain, because nearly all villains are selfish in one way or another. He was slick, he was smart, he had a great design and a great voice, and I don't think there's anything else you can ask for a better villain. His appearance invoked such an attention grabber that you couldn't look away when he was on screen, and every time he spoke, he made every simple word just sound much more deliciously evil. Continuing up the list with number 4, we go to Prince Vegeta from the anime series Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball Z, as I have mentioned, is my number 1 favorite anime series of all time. And even though he's not my number 1 villain, I still believe that Vegeta is probably one of the greatest anime characters ever created. Certainly the most greatest in terms of Dragon Ball Z. Why, you ask? Because Vegeta is a very complex character who is most commonly written off as just a very simple character. He has an ego the size of Texas and enough power to pack away pretty much any planet he gets pissed off at. And what I love about Vegeta is that while he is extremely egotistical and completely ruthless, his passion goes far beyond simple ego trips. He has an unprecedented sense of honor and code and respect in terms of his own power. All the other heroes in the show continue to train with themselves and use teamwork. Vegeta relies solely on himself, and at the same time continues to stay on the same level playing field as the main character Goku. He remains one of the most powerful fighters of the entire universe, all on his own intentions, desires, and passion. And I think that's just absolutely amazing in a character. Vegeta is also extremely ruthless and has no problem killing anyone who gets in his way, even the people who help him out. One of the greatest things about Vegeta is that even though he eventually is turned into a good guy, throughout 90% of the series, even when he is helping the good guys, he's still a bad guy. Vegeta is his own force, is his own nation. He doesn't work for anyone else, and if he's helping you, it's only because he's trying to help himself. And the fact that we could still call him a villain, even though he was with the good guys the whole time, I think shows a real credit to his grandstanding as a grade A bad guy. Up to number 3, this is quite a weird one, as I know people will give me some blank stares for this, but Stay Puft Marshmallow Man from the Ghostbusters series. I know what you're thinking. I know without even seeing your faces. Why the hell is he in there? He was only in the movie for like, 10, 12 minutes. He didn't really do much, and he got blown to bits by the Ghostbusters quite easily. Well, that didn't really matter. As I said before in the earlier part of my review, it doesn't really have anything to do with how long a villain has to be on screen. The person's impact is not diminished by the fact that his or her screen time is relatively short. As you can clearly see from his own grandstanding, Stay Puft Marshmallow Man is an obviously recognizable threat and can do considerable amounts of damage just by merely walking down the street. In just a few minutes he was on screen, he sent hundreds of people running for the hills, screaming for their lives, as he crushed people, cars, even stepped on a church. And the funniest thing about him is that he looks like something out of a Disney cartoon. He's got a big dopey smile on his face as he's walking around, crushing, killing people, and he's all done in the form of a giant tubby Marshmallow Man. It doesn't matter that he wasn't on there long. The Stay Puft Marshmallow Man was a dangerous threat, and truly a recognizable one for his sheer massive size and power. And I love his image, I love his face, I love the whole concept of a monster created of marshmallows, and he proved to be even more formidable than Gozer by just the limited time he was on. And that's one of the reasons why I think Marshmallow Man is a great villain. Whether he was on for a long time or not, his impact was definitely not overlooked. Number 2 is the Joker from Batman. The Joker has been in many variations and many versions out of the cartoons and films that have been made about him, so it's impossible for me to narrow down one and simply say all of them are, because in truth almost every version has been a different part of the Joker's complex personality. The Joker is probably one of the few villains who I can honestly say is 100% pure through and through pure evil. His performances in the excellent movies that he's been in, such as Jack Nicholson and Tim Burton's Batman, and of course the late great Heath Ledger's performance as the Joker in The Dark Knight, leave no doubt in my mind that he can translate perfectly to an audience and prove that he is a villain for all ages. Even the cartoons, one with Kevin Michael Richardson in The Batman and Mark Hamill in the Batman animated series, he has always been the star of the Batman's Rogues Gallery, and his mix of humor and death is just so terrifying and yet oddly humorous. You don't know whether you should laugh at that or cringe at it, and his sickness and darkness is just too repulsive and evil to even begin to describe. The Joker is a villain that has graced so many fans, so many supporters, that whether he is a liked or hated, you cannot diminish the fact that while he may not be as famous as, say, Superman or Batman, the Joker is a villain that no one can forget, or in my opinion should ever forget. He is one of the greatest villains, in my opinion, ever created in any media or format. So then, who possibly could top the Joker and be number 1? Well, while you guys may not agree, since I know Joker has a lot of fans, my number 1 personal favorite villain of all time is Cell from Dragon Ball Z. What I love about Cell is the fact that he encompasses such a wide variety of things that I admire in a villain. He is arrogant, but not to the point where he's obnoxious. He is ruthless, but not to the point where it's senseless and wasteless. And he is made up from the cells of the greatest fighters of the world. He is already born with the most powerful abilities right at his fingertips. He's able to eat people through his ass. That's gotta be a first in my book as far as uniqueness. And the best thing I love about Cell is that he was created by humans. All of these great villains, all these, particularly in Dragon Ball Z, come from aliens, demons, and magical creatures that are born with these infinite powers. But Cell was made by a guy, a man in a cave with a petri dish and a couple of blood samples. He created one of the most powerful creatures in the world, and Cell became one of the biggest villains in Dragon Ball Z. I think Cell is perfect and excellent in his design, voice acting powers, his evolution, his personality. I love everything about him. I think he's the greatest villain Dragon Ball Z ever created, next to Vegeta, of course. And I loved everything about Cell. I love every picture, clip, image, poster, media, anything I could see of him, I have always loved him, and he will always be, to my day, my favorite villain in any aspect. Well, that's all for now. Thank you all for listening to my top 12 personal favorite villains. Thanks for listening, and bye for now.